Okay, Betty Ann, first time, here we go. I hope you can hear me. Okay, I'm going to try to show you how to shadow after you have welded something together. So I'm going to type a word, Mom. That's my word. The first thing I'm going to do is kern it, and right up here it's I want to change that. If it's on all zeros, I want to change it to be 0.001, which is what mine is set on. And when I click apply, if you watch these letters, it moves them together, not completely, but it moves them closer together. Then if I click on weld and I nudge, I'm going to nudge the M over to the O, the second M over to the O, and then I'm going to click on the O and I'm going to nudge it over onto the first M. Okay, so now I've got my first word. Okay, now I want to do the shadow of that, so I click on shadow up here on this keypad, and now I type Mom again. Now this is going to be my shadow. I didn't change anything else. The first thing that I'm going to do to this is the kerning, and make sure that's the same kern of 01. Hit apply, hit weld, and I'm going to then move this whole thing over here on top of the initial one that I just did. I didn't do any nudging yet. This is going to be a little different. Before, we nudged the second M over to the O and then the O over to the first M. This one's almost reverse of that. I'm going to nudge the O over to the first M and then the second M over to the O. And you'll see, hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to try to zoom in just a little bit for a second. Hopefully this will help. Okay, can you see that? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so jerky with it. Okay. That looks pretty. Okay, that looks focused, hopefully. Okay, I'm going to go on that O, and I'm going to go on the shadowed O and click it so that I get those little lines, and then I'm going to do the nudge. Can you see that moving over to the left? I want to move it over so that the lines are lined up okay with the outer part of that O and then the inner part, so I can see where my shadow is going to be. Now I'm going to come over to that second M, and I'm going to do the same thing and nudge it over until all of this out in here lines up. I'm not going to worry about this inner part here because that's not going to cut anyway, so I get all that done. That looks pretty good to me. Alright, let me zoom back out for a second. Okay, I think that's about where we want to be. Okay, what I want to do is I'm going to cut or remove the shadow and put it on another sheet because it's going to be cut in a different color than the initial Mom. So I've got it highlighted, and I can tell that by those lines. I'm going to click on copy and put it on the clipboard, and I'm going to come up here to new page, and I'm going to click that, and see how I got a second page here. It's blank, but I have a second page. So when I get here, I'm going to click on paste, and there's my shadow. Then I come back to this first page and I click on the shadow. I have to be careful because I just clicked on the inside one, but you got to make sure that's outside one. It's the one that's got the dotted lines. I click delete and get rid of it, and now you can see we've got the initial one and then we've got the shadowed one. Now if I wanted to save this project later or whatever, I would probably want to title these so I would know what I've got. The second page is my shadow, so I right click on the screen here. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, and then on untitled page I just highlight that and I type shadowed, so I know that's the shadow part of this, and hit enter, and then it changes it up here. Then I can go back on click on that first page, do the same thing, right click and type whatever I want to call this. In this case I'm just going to do Mom and hit enter, and that changes that name. Then you should be good to go, and you have Mom, the initial Mom here, and then when you click on the shadow there, then you have the shadow there. Hope that makes sense.